Hi, history scholars, Mrs. Olson here. So this video is me trying to help you take some notes as you watch America, the Story of Us, Life in Jamestown. So what I'm going to be doing is watching all of the video, 2 minutes and 55 seconds of it, and periodically I'm going to be maybe explaining something or writing down some notes that I'm taking for the video, because these notes are going to help me when I am doing the assignment, the costs and benefits that the colonists had to make when they left England. So before we start watching the video, if you would like to take notes with me, I think it'd be a good idea. And what I decided to do, knowing that the assignment is going to be about costs and benefits, I just pulled up a Word document and created two different categories for myself. So I wrote costs, and to help you remember about costs, when we watch the video, these are going to be negative or unpleasant things that the colonists went through or experienced. And then benefits, remember, this is what you get after satisfying your want or your need. These are going to be the positive or good things that come out of them leaving England. Okay, so you might want to pause me so that you can write this down and get yourself ready and organized to take notes. I am going to flip over to this part of my screen and start playing the video. Remember, it's okay for you to pause me so that you can write that stuff down on the note sheet. Here we go with the video.
To get by ship from England to Jamestown in 1607, you have to traverse more than 3,000 miles of the worst ocean in the world, the North Atlantic, in a really small wooden vessel, terribly.
Okay, this is where I'm going to stop it, because this person, I think he was a historian, has just talked about a very long journey in a small boat. Okay, so this is what it's going to cost the colonists. A very long journey. We're talking over a couple thousand miles to get to the New World, and they're not doing it in luxury. They are doing it in a very small boat. Okay, so if you need to pause the video here to write down that note, go ahead.
Eating salt or spoiled food, drinking water with creatures in it, and what's even more remarkable is at the end of the...
I'm going to stop it again because I just heard some more information about the negative or unpleasant things that is considered a cost to the colonists. In that I heard about food being spoiled and dirty water, which of course neither of those are going to taste very good, but it isn't going to be good for their bodies either. Remember, if you have to pause, go ahead.
The journey, you're going to find yourself in an unknown territory, stretching unknown distances in every direction except the ocean. And there's the ocean between you and home. It's an extraordinary risk to just make the leap into the unknown and plant yourself there.
Ultimately, the goal simply was survival. This was a wilderness, to put it mildly. The living conditions couldn't possibly have been worse. And there were Native Americans living here who appeared to be the enemy, and everybody was trying to kill each other. That colony barely, but barely survived.
When the first settlers reached the shores of North America, Virginia, and Massachusetts, the thing that struck them was the effectively unlimited extent of natural resources. They knew that the forests went back as far as anyone had ever been. They knew that
All right, guys, we just heard one thing that's going to be a positive, and that is an abundance of natural resources. When land has an abundance of natural resources, that means usually that humans can use it, harvest it, and make money off of it. So let's listen to more about what they found, what the colonists found when they arrived in the New World.
There were fish in the rivers. They knew that there was enough land for generation after generation after generation of farmers. The mindset changed on the moment that the English colonists landed in America.
Okay, so I'm just going to stop it because they talked about fish, which you can make money off of and eat, and then land for farming. That's how I'm going to write that note. Okay, let's listen to some more.
Until then, natural resources were a restraint. Now, natural resources were a liberation.
The next thing you have to know about Jamestown is more people keep coming over. And the ones who come over later know something that the first ones didn't know, and that is that almost half of them are likely to die from local diseases to which they are not acclimated, and from other things, their own bad food, their own bad sanitation, and ultimately hostility from the Indians, whom they've antagonized by their...
Okay, there was just a whole bunch of things in there that we can add to our cost list. So one of the things that they talked about was death and disease. And part of that, the death, is because of those diseases, which they were not used to, but also hostility from the natives, which of course we have learned about Native Americans before this unit and understand that Europeans were not always good to the natives and they had their own way of life and doing things. Okay, so here we go back to the video.
Presence, and yet people do keep coming.
They were either fleeing religious persecution, they were fleeing poverty, they were fleeing a ceiling that said if you're not an aristocrat, you can't rise. And so there's a real sense of greater freedom.
Okay, guys, I am actually going to back this up just a little bit because this historian named a few things. Okay, so backing it up to about the end of the part about Native Americans.
And yet people do keep coming.
They were either fleeing religious persecution.
Okay, that's one. So what are the benefits? They were fleeing religious persecution, meaning that in the New World, they can worship the way that they want to. Persecution. Okay. And then he's going to say something else as far as the benefit goes.
They were fleeing poverty.
They were fleeing poverty. And in the New World, they have all of these opportunities in front of them that were not available in England to people like the colonists, the Pilgrims, and the Puritans.
They were fleeing a ceiling that said if you're not an aristocrat, you can't rise. And so there's a real sense of greater freedom here than anywhere else in the world. And a freedom that's not just political, but it's also a freedom to become somebody, a freedom to rise, a freedom to acquire property in a way that did not exist in the more structured and medieval societies around the
world. Okay, so I'm going to add one more thing here. And Mr. Gingrich talked about freedom. He talked about a freedom to rise. So if you were born in the lower classes in England, you did not have the opportunity to get a good job and make money. He talked about the freedom to worship. And, there were three things. One second.
acquire property in a way.
That was it. To acquire property. Okay, so these are important things in the United States. If you are able to afford property and find the kind of property that you want, then you can own that property. And that was not such a thing in England at this time. All right, guys, that is the end of this little help video as far as watching Jamestown, life in Jamestown, and creating this list of notes that will help us when we are doing the cost and benefits assignment. All right, ask the question.